My name is May Hong. I am the speaking voice of Mira from K-pop Demon Hunters. And this is Moana Nui podcast. Signing off. Happy fans. Do it with me. Happy fans. Happy hon.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to what might be my favorite episode of THIStory, Hidden History. This is our June 2026 Pride edition. This is Juneteenth/Pride edition, but we're going to lean heavily into the Pride part of it because they have more days during the month. I'm just going to say, and we've talked enough about Juneteenth at this point. I'm kind of over it. But in melding those two things, we are going to cover Black queerness in a special way, since we're talking about hidden history. I like to introduce, am I pointing right there? I like to introduce my co-host, James. Say hello, James.
Hello, James.
I can't stand you. And and we're here tonight to have some fun. I hope that it's not like I'm about to teach you anything. This is not about teaching history. This is about like, oh, I didn't know that kind of history, right? So as I have researched different things, some of this I already knew. Some of this I'm like, yeah, I didn't know as much about it as I thought I did. So hopefully y'all sit back, relax, and learn something, right? Since y'all don't like to read no more, at least listen. Okay. Yo, you read, because we're in our late 40s. We read. I'm in my 50s.
I mean,
I can read cursive.
I'll be there in about 8 months.
Yes.
Take my time, though. I'm taking my time.
Take your time. It's great. It's great. The knees pop, but it's great. But
the knees been popping. That's why I work out.
Right? They're since 38. But what was I about to say? Yeah, we since people don't like to read anymore, and I'm chronically online, I just watched this woman argue the world down that a skit was a social media term, that she had never heard of skits. And she's like, wasn't nobody saying skits in 2005? Ma'am.
We've been saying skits since, never mind, let me
since the 1800s.
Since before I was born.
Since the 1800s, bruh. That's not even a you don't read. That's a you don't pay attention. You don't read. You didn't even Google that. Google search, Google the meaning. It'll tell you when the word first came into popular use and the year, like 1870, 1903, something like that. Anyway, since people don't read.
Not at all. Apparently.
Even about their own history. I'm not a member of the LGBTQ community, but I am. I try to be an ally, right? And so, as I learn stuff, I share stuff, and I have heard people in the LGBTQ community not know where things come from, not knowing where tea comes from, not knowing where voguing comes from, and I mean that's like. But at the same time, I've seen Black people think that Harriet Tubman is a myth. Right? And say stuff like, if the Underground Railroad was real, where are the tracks? Oh my God.
I don't like young people.
Stupid.
This is why I don't like young people. Because it's like the whole information highway is out there for you to surf and navigate, for you to find the information, and you will look up all the dumb ish.
I have seen people say things like, I've never seen a slave ship in a shipyard. You know why? Because wood rots. You know that, right? You don't see any wooden ships in a shipyard anymore unless they're preserved in a museum.
That part.
And speaking of which, there are pieces of slave ships in museums.
Yes, there are.
I need you to know that. I need you to know that. Anyway, what I also need you to know is I found the first drag queen.
Uh-oh.
Yes. The first drag queen. I sent you a picture. His name was... Wait a minute. I lost his name. Hang on. I pulled up the wrong folder, and I don't want to get it wrong. I know it was
William Dorsey Swan.
Thank you. Now I'm doing better. William Dorsey Swan. Now here's the thing. I know his story. First of all, fabulous. No notes. 10 out of 10 on the outfit. William Dorsey Swan was a freed person. I don't know his pronouns, but he got arrested a lot. like a lot, because he was throwing balls. So even people that think, oh, ballroom culture goes back to the 70s, baby girl, ballroom culture goes back to the turn of the century, the turn of the last century. Like
I just learned something.
late 1890s, I believe.
Okay.
He, first of all, he's amazing. But when people talk about something being in you and something being important to you, and something that you're willing to sacrifice for, he was so, I don't want to say in love, that's the wrong word to use. He was so committed to living the way he wanted to live that he refused to stop cutting up. So, born in 1860 in Hancock, Maryland. So, Baltimore, looking at you, right? He was born into slavery. He was later freed, and he became actually a big iconic figure in a lot of drag and LGBTQ activism. But activists tend to know more of their own history than the average person. So for the average person watching this who may identify as a member of the LGBTQIA2+ community, you need to know about William Dorsey Swann. So born in 1860, so he's 20 years old, right around the time like Spelman and Morehouse are being formed, right? Because I know Spelman was 1881 and Morehouse what, like 18 what?
Don't get me the lion shoot. Got me on the spot here. I know I should know this. I forgot.
Was it 1867?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was so anyway, Spelman and Morehouse is just coming into being. And he is in his 20s. So now he's still in the DC area, but he began hosting private balls, right? So he created like one of the first safe spaces. He's like, I want to make it where, my people who like to party and get down like I do can just stand around and be in like corsets and gowns and bustles and, Elizabethan wear, whatever. Like you see the picture, you see the dress. He's like, we're going to be cute. And he referred to himself as a queen of drag. Hence the phrase drag queen. Right? You gotta love it. First person known to have used that title, queen of drag, or drag queen as we call it now, right? So he got arrested a lot because it is illegal. Up until the Stonewall Rebellion of I gotta look that year up, in the 70s, it was illegal to dress other than the gender you're assigned. Now dress code. Say what?
69 was Stonewall.
69 was Stonewall. Yeah, thank you. So that's why Stonewall people kept getting harassed at the bars, because they would go there to be comfortable, similar to the same thing 100 years before that he was doing. Okay, well, 88 years before, but still that he was doing was, I want to make a space where we can be comfortable, be ourselves, and just do whatever we want, right? And have a good time. Just having a good time. Why is it that so many other people who ain't got no business up in there got a problem with people just wanting to have a good time? I'm just trying to have fun. I'm just trying to have my little Hennessy, maybe a little cigar, whatever my people want to be doing, and put this dress on. Why I got to go to jail? So he got arrested over and over and over again. And he kept doing it to the point where the judges would be like, oh my God, why are you back in here? And he's like, and I'm going to keep coming back in here because I'm going to keep doing it. Because it was not, at the time, it was not a felony. It was a misdemeanor and a fine. And people would pay for him to get out so he could throw another ball. And that is our first icon of the day. So William Dorsey Swann. Get to know about him because he is amazing, right? Put up the next picture for me, please. Now, I was just talking about the Stonewall Rebellion. If you don't know this face, you're doing yourself a disservice. This is Marsha P. Johnson. She was not the only one, but since this is Pride and Black History or Juneteenth, we're gonna stick with her because she had help. There were several other activists at the time. Matter of fact, let me see. I know there was another name that I personally had never heard before, and that was Stormy DeLaverie, who was a male presenting or masculine presenting lesbian. And she was a performer, and she used to clash with the cops around Stonewall all the time. And the rumor has it that she was one of the catalysts or instigating events that led to the Stonewall Rebellion. People just think that one day the cops was harassing them and they picked up a brick and threw it. But no, it's really more about the fact that the cops will come down there every Friday and mess with them just because it was technically illegal. Then they're arresting you for what you look like, and resisting arrest is also an arrestable offense. And they would take them all down. It was just a way for, honestly, for the city to make money off everybody, pay the fine, and you can go back out. So nothing had changed since William Dorsey Swan's time, right?
Nope.
You want to arrest you, you pay this fine. We'll see you again next Friday. You know.
Fun fact about the Stonewall Bar, the mob owned it.
Well, yeah, because the mob gonna make money, and
but not just to make money, to get dirt on politicians who are regularly frequent the bar.
Kind of the way Grindr crashes every time the RNC has an event.
Yep.
Okay, you can take a picture now.
So yeah, they were doing it to blackmail politicians in the city. So, I mean, there's a multitude of facts. I mean, yeah, the cops coming down there to harass them was done literally. City officials basically were directing them to go down there every weekend just to harass them, break up, try to close the bar early. And, you know, on the night that everything kicked off, let's put it this way. You don't bring 9 cops to an establishment where there are like damn near 100 people, where they're going to be outnumbered almost 10-1, and have them try to rough folk up, because that wasn't happening.
Actually, it's that, in my opinion, that is rooted in misogyny, because the idea that you're going to just beat up a bunch of feminine people,
or just queer people in general,
but the idea tends to still be prevalent that gay men are somehow weak. I know some gay dudes that will put boots to ass, you know, so careful about what you think. Matter of fact, I just saw a video the other day of a dude in a Sailor Moon outfit whooping this dude's ass up and down the street. You asked for this. You wanted it. You got it. Smoke. Sailor Smoke is what
I will say the queer community has hands. I've seen it both online and in person. Do not, like, literally leave folk alone.
I've seen, matter of fact, I think the best instructional video I've seen on how to fight a bitch was a guy saying, okay, so what you got to know is if you plan on something going on, make sure the wig is on, but not too tight. So when they pull, the wig just come off. And now once the wig come off, you free, or you can square up. Like, he had a whole plan on how to fight. But if you think about it, it's because he's had to learn that.
Yes.
It's because of trial and error over, I don't know how long, that he realized I need to know how to fight in my regalia, right? And how to do it. I always wonder how people's wigs get snatched off so quick. And now, I mean, I'm just now putting this together. It's because you might be about to fight and you don't need the hair pulling. So you just make it easy release.
Because hair is an easy target to grab if it's long.
Yep. Anyway, we went off on a So you all know Marsha P. Johnson. The next person on my list is Gladys. Oh my goodness. I had her name. Yes, Gladys Bentley. Now, this is Harlem Renaissance drag right here. Gladys Bentley was a very well-known, they called it cross-dressing at the time, but she was known to be a lesbian. And she was a very famous performer at like the Cotton Club and other clubs that were hot during the Harlem Renaissance. And so you can see here, the attire is very dapper, very reminiscent of the Count Basie era, you know, of the Cab Calloway era. She was right there with them. And she was loved and respected. And this is what always trips me out. We seem to be getting, you can take it down. We've seemed to be getting more divisive as time goes on. Because how is it that people in the 30s were like, yeah, whatever, it's a good performance, let's roll. And like right now, if Laverne Cox walks outside, she got death threats. It's ridiculous, right? So I'm also glad to see that there was representation in pockets. It wasn't widespread, it wasn't mainstream, but there was a place. There's always been a place for people to go. So again, this idea that queerness is something that like came about because of the internet, or in 2012 for some reason, or because of COVID, whatever you think, it's only new to you because you just started paying attention. There are pictures of same-sex positions and relationships in the Kama Sutra, which is older than this country. right?
Yeah.
So miss me with that nonsense. whole lot of let's say communities and populations that have not really lost touch with their ancestors or with the earth recognize more than two binary genders.
That part.
It may not have been 7, but it was like, left, right, and middle, all of the above. Right. Two spirit, and I'm not trying to trivialize any of it. I'm just saying it came in a lot of different ways, and it was across the globe that people recognize you might be not one of the basic two. You might be something not only different, but special, revered in your community. We went from there to, we don't even want you to try to play sports. It's crazy. Am I getting us in trouble by cursing? Probably.
No.
Okay.
I mean, you could tell. That's what, you're the host. It's your show.
It's my show.
Show.
I don't care if I'm talking to you. Nobody knows. Now, the next face I want to bring up, now we're getting into more Juneteenth, less queer, and for a reason. I want to talk about Bayard Rustin. If you didn't see the movie Rustin recently, Coleman Domingo is a treasure, and you should absolutely check it out. But this is the real Bayard Rustin. And at the time, there's a whole lot of people, is religion to blame or just a scapegoat? That is an interesting question, Tony. You can take a picture down. We know what Bayard Rustin looks like. Okay. Yeah. Is religion to blame? Yes and no. Does religion hurt okay, let me break it all the way. Take it all the way back for you. And thank you for watching, Tony. So religion, you have to specify what religion you're talking about, because there are some religious practices or polytheistic or monotheistic ideals where you can be whatever, I shouldn't speak to this because I'm not looking at it and I haven't researched it well enough, but I'm pretty sure there are deities in some South Asian practices that are also non-binary, can be represented by a man or a woman. Matter of fact, Loki's been a woman a couple times. So if you're talking about Judeo-Christian, Christianity specifically, and I'm picking on Christians because it's them.
It's always them.
It's hard for me to be diplomatic about that. It's them.
No, don't be diplomatic about it. It's them.
It's because if you look at where specifically restrictive Christianity, and I'm not talking about Jesus Christ, who was Jewish, by the way, but I'm talking about the people that followed, the men particularly that followed, and their narrow view of what should and shouldn't be allowed, and how it became more and more restrictive and more tied to money over the years, so that by the time you reach the Crusades, it's all about the cash, right? Muslim countries are very bad, yes, but they are also falling under the same thing. But I'm going to talk about the Christians because that's who I have seen colonize the entire world and take that bullshit everywhere.
Yep.
Muslim countries, they did some exploring, they did some expansion, they've done their share of genocide. However, Christians have done more. I'm not going to say as much, I'm going to say more, because it continues on. And they have decimated populations in the name of saving them. Who was there to save when you done murdered everybody? And spending enough time and enough force through financial manipulation and just brute strength to force people out of their homes. The same way they forced Hawaiians to stop learning their own language. Yep. Right? The same way they forced Native Americans to stop learning their own language. The same way they forced everybody to go, because they can't learn anything but English, they force everybody everywhere to speak what they speak because that's all they know how to do. And I'm also looking at you, Spaniards and Portuguese. I ain't forgot about y'all neither. But this restrictive, matter of fact, the Puritans that came to the United States were all about sex is only for procreation and anything else is a sin and God hates you for it. But then we'll go and rape the natives, hence the phrase missionary position, right? And once a missionary might attack or assault some native girl, and then, people want to come talk to you about their daughter, talk to you about their tribes member, and now, the natives are restless. The phrasing right there. We've heard this before. We've heard it recently. We forget how abusive our language can be with all these idioms that we have. And then so now it's a problem to be put down. So you send the missionaries into an area early, almost like scouts. Have them do their little dog and pony show about God loves you and I'm trying to save you. Never mind that the entirety of, you know what, I'm never going to get into all the idiosyncrasies in the Bible, but I'm trying to save you, but I really just want this land. And all it takes is for me to keep pushing on you until you push back. And once you push back, oh my God, somebody come help us. And now here come the army. Matter of fact, if you know the story of Captain Cook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Pocahontas.
In Hawaii. Yeah. Not Pocahontas.
Oh, no, sorry. Not.
No.
Yeah. Hawaii. Yes.
In Hawaii. Matter of fact, I learned this when I was on trip in Hawaii. I was there on a catamaran, and the guy who was doing the tour on a catamaran just broke it down. It was like me and 3 other Black people and all these white people. And he just started talking about how Captain Cook was stupid and he didn't really know how to sail. He couldn't swim. And that's why he drowned. The captain of the ship drowned because he tried some nonsense with the local tribe on a particular part of the island. His first stop there, I'm really reducing this story, but his first stop there, he was like, they think I'm a god. I'm going to play into this. Give me all your stuff. And then he dumped a dead body in their drinking water well, so that they all got sick and a lot of people died. Then he had the nerve to come back because he didn't know how to sail. His ship got blown apart. So he limped back to this port and tried to kidnap their king. Now the king listened to his wife. Again, women in power helping people. The king listened to his wife, who had already had a dream, and told him, don't go with these people because you'll never come back. So he resisted, and then they got hostile and they tried to kidnap him. They got run off. So Captain Cook is trying to run back to his ship, which is too far out. He tries to swim and, oh snap, I can't swim, drowns. Nobody killed him. He drowned. But now you got a dead body floating off the edge of the water. So they pulled the body back up and took care of it, meaning they cremated it, because that's what you do when you live at sea level, is you cremate everything, right? Except for New Orleans. But anyway, so the other crew members are like, can we at least get the body back? And they're like, I mean, we burned it. It's some finger bones, I guess. You had it.
Right.
Here you go. Good luck. They go back to London, or they go back to the British Empire and say, they cooked and ate our captain. No, they didn't. They cremated him. But they started this myth of cannibalism, which is savage and against God. And now they're sending all the troops back down to Hawaii. And then the rest is a sad, tragic, and ongoing history.
Yeah.
But going back to the issue with LGBTQ, and I'm going to, just for the interest of time, and so I don't trip over my tongue again, I'm just going to say the queer community. I know that some people don't necessarily identify that way, but I'm doing it just for language's sake. I'm not trying to reduce anybody's individual identity. But going back to the queer community and what Christianity has done, this idea that there is only one way to live to get to heaven has always been whoever you are not. You know, even from saying that Black people have the mark of Cain on them, and that's why we deserve to be slaves and not going to heaven. Or if you are calling homosexuality sodomy is also a political ploy, because if you read that section of the Bible about Sodom and Gomorrah, it was about raping boys.
Yep.
That is pedophilia, a specific type, right? But the word homosexual doesn't show up in new versions of the Bible until like the 1940s, right? Which is when everybody, now they got a problem with it, because God says you're going to hell if you like what. But if it's 2 consenting adults, y'all can do what you want.
Whatever you want.
Right?
Because that was prevalent back in Jesus's day.
However, there's been a history tied between the conventions that put the Bible together, because the Bible was not originally a book. It was a collection of essays, basically, right? They turned it into the good book, kicked some stuff out, kept what they wanted to fit a narrative, right? And then said, here's what we're doing. And let's just incorporate all this other pagan stuff so people will attach to it. But let's stop it with the sex. Because sex is fun. And there's a history in the United States. Remember, we got Puritan roots. And there was even the Elizabethan era in Great Britain and the British Empire, when a lot of colonization happened, was also very puritanical. Women were not supposed to enjoy sex. If they were married, it was only for procreation. But the whorehouses were still full, though. It's funny how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Slavery was just an easy way to get women that couldn't resist, and human trafficking is still going on to this day by a lot of people that go to church on Sunday. But this idea that I want to go back to misogyny and homosexuality, homophobia in particular. Again, to reduce it down, a lot of men have struggles with homosexuality in men because there is an innate caution and fear that a homosexual man will take advantage of you the way you may have known straight men to take advantage of women. It's always that question of, I don't want to be alone with a homosexual man. Well, if it's a gay man in a locker room, what's he going to do to me? The answer is nothing, because you're probably not attracted to them, to be honest. I'm just saying, right? But this idea that they will get you, but then to turn around and wonder why women don't feel safe around straight men is a whole hypocritical lie, right? But straight men don't have a problem with two women unless they're not invited. Then it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But they also don't feel physically threatened by gay women. Although they are starting to change that tune a little bit now, because a lot of women, gay and straight, have discovered the gym. And we got shoulders now, and we got hands, right? We whoop that tail. And so now you real mannish and blah, blah, blah. But does Christianity in particular have a part to have been played in the subjugation and extermination of the queer community? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because even before you had conversion therapy and all the other nonsense that happens now, they would lynch them. Mm-hmm. They would hang them. It may not have been in the numbers that they did for Chinese and Black Americans or workers, if you want to call them that, but it was there. The hiding of who you were, the persecution. I think a great movie to watch is, what is it called? Was it Girl with Pearl Earring? No. There was a movie starring Eddie Redmayne. The Dutch Girl? I can't remember the name of the movie. I got to find it now. Hang on a second.
I got it. Keep going.
Okay, so there's a movie starring Eddie Redmayne, and the Danish Girl. The Danish Girl. Right. He is married, or at least deep in love. I think he's married to a woman who's like a seamstress or whatever. And at some point in their marriage, which was very congenial, but not necessarily passionate, right? She asked him to put on like a woman's sock and shoe so she could size it or draw a painting of it or something like that. And he looked down at his own foot with this woman's shoe on it, and it changed his life. And from then on, he became obsessed with wanting to feel that feeling again. And so the whole point of that movie is he starts to cross-dress with his wife, and they would go to parties, her and her sister. Every now and then he would flirt a little bit, and he realized he wanted to be a woman. He didn't just want to dress like one anymore. And so that story is one of the stories of one of the first attempts at gender reassignment. It didn't go well, spoiler alert. But the idea that I would rather not continue living if I can't live in a body that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Then he was willing to take that risk. And so people that say, oh, it's a phase, or, people don't know what they want, or God doesn't make mistakes. Well, if you quit labeling people as mistakes, you realize that God doesn't make mistakes. You thought it was a mistake. Mm-hmm. He put them there for a reason. And the same way, if you say you shouldn't do any sort of like gender affirming care, Viagra and testosterone shots are also gender affirming care, right? But that's okay because that's for straight dudes ostensibly. I am so far off what I wanted to talk about. But in a nutshell, just to sum up the last 15 minutes, yes, Christianity has caused problems for the gay community. As a matter of fact, I think is one of the reasons that you see so many people fall out of love or fall out of favor with the Christian church, is because
especially in the Black community.
Especially in the Black community, it teaches you to hate your child and to hate yourself. We don't know how many young Black men and women we lost to suicide behind them thinking no one could ever love them and they deserve no love because of this secret that they were hiding. And that is a level of harm that the church has never apologized for and doesn't even want to admit to, because how can we prove it? They're gone, but I that touches me personally, because my freshman year in college, there was a guy in Morehouse that out of the blue committed suicide, and nobody understood why, because he seemed cool, he was chill, blah, blah, blah. And now as I'm older and I look back on it, I wonder.
Yeah.
Right. And I think about him and I think about signs I wasn't paying attention to at the time. We weren't that close. He wasn't like my super ace boom friend and anything. I just knew him from parties and whatnot. And he always seemed cool, but he also, when I look back on it, I wonder.
Right.
And so persecution has absolutely happened at the hands of Christians. Persecution is still happening at the hands of Muslims. So to your point earlier, yes, Muslims are just as bad. There are all kinds of laws against homosexuality all across nations where a Muslim religion is prevalent. Not all of them, but some are worse than others. The same way, a whole lot of Christian nations, some are worse than others. Yeah. And even though we have laws and protections in place through civil rights here in the United States for the queer community, that's now, and that's recent. We talk in my lifetime, right? So it's not like we've always been this bastion of equality, because we've never been that here in this country for any reason. But I think this idea that we have to get them because they're coming for our children is very much an American thing.
Yes, it is.
And it's because politicians use that
as a sticking point for conservatives.
Yes.
Because let's be real, drag queens are not coming to indoctrinate your children. They're not. If anything, they're trying to teach your kids how to read.
Right, which again, as we said earlier in the show, these kids don't read. So if there's a dude in a dress and some makeup that wants to read, My Little Pony to your children, since you don't read to them, I'm not talking about anybody in the audience, I'm just invisible. General you. You understood. Since y'all don't read to the kids, let the drag queens read to the kids. Because that's another thing that has happened because of that little change in the Bible, is that homosexuality and pedophilia are, to a lot of Christians, interchangeable, and they're absolutely not the same thing. And matter of fact, we got pedophiles all over the place in broad daylight at 1600, right? And we ain't doing nothing about it. But then you let some person who was born a different gender want to go play a sport. And oh my God, what about the bathrooms? All of that is BS. The most dangerous place. Absolutely. Not only are they more dangerous than drag queens, but they were protected and shuffled. Yep. Similar to how when a police officer murders a Black person in the street, they just get moved over to another county, another state. Yep. When a priest was found to have done something to a child, they just get moved and protected. And to this day, I think the church has basically said, "Oh yeah, y'all found out about that. My bad. You didn't get no money out of us, but sorry, not sorry."
It's not like law enforcement bends over backwards to try to bring justice. It's like, okay, we're making this known, and then before anything substantial can actually happen, supposedly, like you said, they get moved. So. There's always something from on high. Like once word gets far enough up the chain, okay, so we can't have Bishop John over here in St. Cathedral. We got to move him over.
Cardinal Richelieu over to California for a little while since he had messed up in Chicago.
Make sure he's in a small, quiet town that has a population less than 1,000.
Right.
Because odds are they haven't heard about him or what happened.
Right. The whole idea of altar boys it gives me the ick in general. Why do you need them? And why do they need to practice? Why do they need to come up there? I'm just saying.
That is such a forced thing in upbringing with the church, and then you wonder why the moment they're able to get away from the church with any true free will, as in like go away to college or anything else that would get them outside of their small ecosystem where they live, and then they want nothing to do with the church again. Rather something happened to them or not. It's just that forced that's indoctrination right there.
Right. And it's not even just about something happened to them by a member of the church and they were forced to keep it quiet or nobody want to talk about it. It's the fact that they might want to be themselves and get told your whole life is an abomination to God. And if their parents are indoctrinated enough, their parents will put them out.
Yep.
You kick your own child out, product of your body or, some parts of your body that God has given you. If you believe that all life is precious, et cetera, but then you throw them away because they're not what you wanted. That's a sin, right? And then that's how you create the great drag houses of New York, right? The House of Balenciaga, the House of, I forgot all the other names, La Fontaine and whatnot, because they had to fend for themselves.
Yes, they did.
And similar to the RNC, the way a lot of, I don't want to put this the wrong way because I don't want it to sound like I ever thought that HIV was a quote unquote gay disease. However, a lot of unprotected sex was happening.
Yes.
From people that will take it back to their wives because they pretend to be straight. That also is another problem, is this idea of hiding who you really are, all the down low, all the other kind of stuff. Just be you. Do what you want, right? I think it's less prevalent, and I could be wrong. I haven't looked this up, but I think it's less prevalent for women to hide their sexuality than for men. Because again, not the idea of homosexuality is still tied to femininity, which has been forced into being a level of weakness, right? Think about all the words we use. Don't be a P, right? Don't wuss out. You run like a girl. You fight like a girl. All of this is weak, and so
male-dominated society, unfortunately.
Male-dominated. So a man being attracted to another man, women are supposed to be attracted to men. And so if you are acting like a woman, now you're supposed to be weak. But they got hands though. Watch out, because they've had to. But also people not wanting anybody else to know, and so running down to the wharf or to the docks or whatever, to the red light district, to get a little something, and then go home, and then a condom in sight, right? And so that's why gonorrhea is on the rise again. And it has nothing to do with homosexuality, everything to do with the fact that people somehow condoms became uncool. I don't know how that happened. But then smoking is on the rise again too. It's like humans want to kill themselves.
Well, the church for a while was against condoms.
Yeah. But my point about that is not to try to conflate the AIDS epidemic with homosexuality. Is to say is that the reason you saw so much of it in the gay community is because they were left unprotected.
Yes.
A lot of them were forced to do something strange for a little change, right? In order to live, because their Christian, God-loving families kicked them out onto the street without anything. And so they had to learn to live. They got found by their found family, is what they call them, your found family, right? And sometimes they move into drag culture. Sometimes they just wanted to be around people who weren't going to pee on them every day, And a whole lot of people turn to prostitution to make a living. It's a whole lot of what do they call them? Midnight ballerinas, shoe models, etc. That, that's the reason that subculture is so big, right? Is because people have to figure out how to make a living and how to eat.
World's oldest profession.
It's actually not the world's oldest profession.
I
The
know, but
world's
I'm just
oldest
saying.
profession for women is actually midwife.
I wasn't talking about for women. I was just saying in general.
In general, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always been a way. Even the penguins know how to give you a rock to get some, right? I just watched that documentary not too long ago. Them penguins is freaks. Don't ever look up penguin sex, because what is really going on?
I saw a dude rescue a penguin, and the penguin brought him their egg like years or so later.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Because he saved it from a walrus.
That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. But those penguins, the ones that are from like Madagascar, the ones that look like that, nasty.
Emperor penguins.
I feel like the guy that was researching them was so traumatized with what he saw them do that he buried his research. You got to go to Casual Geographic and watch Casual Geographic.
Not National.
No, Casual Geographic. I'm not saying it wrong.
Okay.
Casual Geographic is a YouTube channel. The same guy that I don't know where the book is.
Oh, the animals that will kill you.
Yes, 100 animals that can effing end you.
Yes.
That's his book, which also get the audiobook because he narrates it and it's exactly like his YouTube videos. But he talks about that penguin study and how the guy that did the research like came home and buried it and never wanted to go out there again. And it was discovered like 30 or 40 years later. People were like, oh my God. And yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. Like, what's the word? Necrophilia.
Oh no.
Yeah. Although there's a reason that for a while, a lot of coroners would not hire men for the night shift.
Yep. Still worry about that to this day because they're still doing it.
This is how people in comas come up pregnant. But anyway, we're not supposed to be talking about gross dudes. We're supposed to be talking about icons of the queer community that are Black. Next up, my absolute favorite. This man means more to me than y'all can understand. I have James Baldwin is my muse, my inspiration. I try my best to use the things that he shared and talked about and aspects of his life and his philosophy and his unapologetic rejection of what America was trying to become. I use a lot of that in the D&I work that I do. Matter of fact, two of my favorite quotes. The first one is, if I love you, I have to make you conscious of the things you don't see. And he was talking about, a love or a friend, but you could also talk about, if I love this country, I have to make it conscious of the things that it doesn't see. If I love my neighbor, I have to make them conscious of the things that they don't see. I'm trying to help you. If I really care about you, you should want me to tell you the truth about yourself, and I love that. My other favorite quote by him is, I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. It's the original red flag, right?
Yeah.
You telling me you care about me, but I'm watching you mess me over. You telling me it's one nation under God, but I'm watching you do everything but, right? You telling me all men are created equal, but I'm watching you tell me I can't get along. I can't believe what you say because I watch what you do. If you get a chance, you should watch some of the old videos. Just Google James Baldwin on YouTube. James Baldwin speeches, James Baldwin debates. He is amazing.
I saw, I Am Not Your Negro.
Oh God, yes. That is an excellent movie. I Am Not Your Negro is
powerful. Charged even.
And just going back to the connection between like the church and Black queerness, think about Bayard Rustin. Couldn't be out. In the middle of the civil rights movement where we're fighting for rights, he was told, keep that to yourself.
Yep.
Him and a lot of women as well. There were a whole lot more women involved with the civil rights movement. Like, people think that Martin Luther King came in and did everything. He didn't even organize the bus boycott. Women did that, right? Unfortunately, women whose names don't trip off my tongue, like Martin Luther King. Rosa Parks wasn't the only person to never give up, to not want to give up. She wasn't even first.
She wasn't the first. No, the first was a teenage girl.
Right, but she wasn't a good poster child. And the picture, somebody made this point, the picture of Rosa Parks is always in black and white. Pictures of Martin Luther King are always in black and white. They had color photographs back then.
They did.
They put them in black and white to make it feel older. So it feels like ancient history. And it also ages up a lot of people. Rosa Parks was in her 30s when she got arrested. But she looks like a little old lady in that black and white picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild, right? It changes the narrative completely. But this ain't about her. We do her in February next year. But James Baldwin, when he first was approached about doing or being involved in civil rights, he was like, nah, because he knew what sort of secrets he was keeping, that he was a gay man. You know, there were a whole lot of lavender weddings back in the day. Matter of fact, a whole lot of people involved with the civil rights movement ain't straight as an arrow, right? But listen to the podcast, Our Ancestors Were Messy. I don't do podcasts as a rule. I'm on a podcast right now, but I don't listen to podcasts. But Our Ancestors Were Messy. That's that tea. That's that hotness. And like, check it out. It's great. But Baldwin and several other people, a lot of people were pushed out of the spotlight because they didn't fit that, you know, straight and narrow narrative, you know, and also homosexuality was still seen as a sin by and large by most Americans. And so they didn't want anything that might bring negative press to the movement. So a lot of people either sidelined or silenced. I was in my 40s before I found out how many people associated with the civil rights movement were also members of the LGBTQ community. It blew my mind, right? Matter of fact, I got a list. Comes up again. We talked about Bayard Rustin, Angela Davis, James Baldwin, Audre Lorde, Langston Hughes, Lorraine Hansberry, who wrote A Raisin in the Sun, Alan Locke, who was the first African-American Rhodes Scholar and architect during the Harlem Renaissance. Laverne Cox, we get into like people today, but Alvin Ailey, we knew. Ma Rainey, the mother of the blues, used to talk about a lot of non-binary sexual preferences, etc., in her music. And they don't talk about that because they try to act like she never existed, right? Yeah, they're all over. The same way we talk about Black people being essential to the culture of America, queer people are also essential to the culture of America. And so by the commutative property of math, Black queer people are essential to the culture and the history and the story of America. And they shouldn't be erased, shouldn't be forgotten. You know, we do a terrible job of telling our own children about this part of our history. Similar to how they're trying to erase Black history, we try to erase the queerness out of our history because of our ridiculous attachment to Christianity. I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum. I mean, I feel like everyone should have a spiritual connection to a higher power. Howsoever, the way we won't read the Bible but be quoting it needs to be studied, right? The way I remember watching a documentary that talked about the pharaohs in Egypt, and there was a story written in hieroglyphics about a pharaoh named Akhmosen. I want to say that was his name, but it meant like brother of Moses. And the whole story was there about how the reason all of the first sons died during the Exodus was not because the spirit went around and got all of them. All of those plagues line up with the lead up or the ramp up to a volcanic explosion. And when volcanoes explode, a gas that is denser than oxygen tends to come off the mountain, and it goes to the deepest place. And the practice at the time was to put all of the male children who were going to be fostered and learned together in the same general area. So they were all sleeping in this chamber, and the gas got all of them. But they were all members of Egyptian society and not the kids of the slaves. So Passover is actually scientifically proven in this documentary, or the first Passover, and the whole Exodus, and the locusts, the bloody stuff, the bloody water, all of that stuff is explained. I tried to talk to my very religious aunt about that. She walked away from me.
Because how dare you put scientific fact on her religious belief?
She didn't want any question about her book and her God, even though I'm trying to tell her I believed it, like, wow, this really happened. I don't want to talk about that, and just walked away from me. And that was the first time I realized what the difference is between a belief and an idea, which that concept I got from the movie Dogma. Maybe not the best way to start thinking about questioning religion or religious practice. It's a good movie though. But
yes, it is.
The thing that I like that it brings forward is, one, how Lucifer fell, arrogance, and two, the fact that believing something means you can't question it.
Yeah.
But having an idea about something means you're open to possibilities. And so if you have a belief, then it becomes a rigid box, nothing in, nothing out. But if you have an idea that is more malleable, plastic circle, right? Maybe not. I leave the door open. And isn't that what Christianity is supposed to be? Is leaving the door open? Let's say if people read and understood the stories of the Bible, ministers and priests would be out of work. True. Matter of fact, another movie, I get way too much information from movies. Stigmata was a horror movie back in the day. But the point of the movie, and you don't figure it out to the end because you think this lady is possessed. The point of the movie, and she was possessed, but she was possessed by an old priest who didn't get a chance to finish his work because he had found like some texts that were written by Jesus. And he was murdered for trying to tell everybody. And so he possessed her to finish what he started. So in the end, it wasn't a horror. Well, it was a horror movie, the whole movie. But in the end, it was a good story. And the point is, there was a phrase, look under a rock, I'm there. Look out in nature, I'm everywhere. Basically, you didn't need the church, the organized religion part of church, to be close to God. All you had to do was look under a rock and I'm there. And that is a revolutionary and destabilizing idea. Wait, you mean I don't have to pay tithes and come talk to you and tell you all my, think about this. Come tell me all your secrets and I'll just dominus ominous and you say some Hail Marys and be all right. But now I got all your secrets. You think I'm not going to use that again when we need some land for the church? That was the biggest racket. And people still doing it. I ain't telling the priest nothing. Because tell me your secrets first, bro. Leave it tit for tat, same time. But again, going back to, what was I saying? I'm so my ADHD bag today, man. Like I probably needed to have taken some medicine before I began the show. But,
man, we're good. We're good.
But yeah, just the idea that you can reach God, you can have communion with God, however God shows up for you. Because my personal philosophy is, it's like a game of telephone. God says something and everybody's heard something different. And he's like, or they're like, that's not what I said. But we're like, no, we're running with this now. Right? Even though the book is full of inconsistencies, and that all Abrahamic religions come from the same Genesis story, people forget about all of that. Well, they just want to fight because everybody wants to feel special.
Yeah.
And any religion that tells you we're all equal doesn't make you feel special. And so people put hierarchy into it for their own personal desires and needs and insecurities. There shouldn't be any hierarchy. It's just teachers and students. And then those students should become the teacher, and so on and so forth. But now we got archdioceses, dukes and bishops and all other kind of nonsense. And we ain't even gonna talk about how much money the Catholic Church got. They loaded.
I will say that the current Pope and I want to say his predecessor have been more progressive
than ever.
Than any popes before them.
Yes, they have turned the tide. And I do believe that they're doing what, in my opinion, because I'm not a Catholic, I'm holding on to my Christianity more through tradition than anything else. I still say grace over my food and all that kind of stuff. But I also recognize the harm that all organized religion has done in every country to marginalized communities, right? We're supposed to be feeding the poor, and we're passing laws right now in this country to not help the sick. Let's not. All we do is chase money. And I do know that is in the Bible, is that the love of money is real. Not money itself. That's just currency. The love of money, the chasing money, the capitalism of it all is the root of all evil. And it sure does look like it from where I'm sitting, right? This went off the rails again. I can't keep it together.
It's all right.
I have so much to say. Like that one question about, do you think Christianity had any, or do you think religion had anything to do with it?
But that is a big part of what goes on during Pride Month. Now,
organized religion is all about restricting things from people. And the whole idea of pride, let's talk about that for a second. Pride in and of itself, because again, we can do black and gay. Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Wow. We're being proud of who you are, because both of those marginalized groups have been told by society, friends and family, and the church, you are not worthy of love. You're born to be a slave. Your whole life is an abomination. You shouldn't be proud about anything. And Tony, I'm going to absolutely disagree with this. How wild humans would be if religion didn't control the masses. Religion doesn't control the masses. We have religion everywhere. And yet, who is diddling kids? The church.
That part.
How is that helping? And this idea that, well, if we didn't have religion, we'd just be running out here murdering everybody. I have murdered everybody I ever wanted to murder. Right? Now, we have murdered civilizations in the name of a god. Mm-hmm. Right? Whether it was pre-Christian deities or not. People have gone to war in the name of a god because God wants me to do this. Manifest destiny. Right? God wants us to go out here and kill all of these Native Americans and take this land for the glory of God. All of that is religion based.
Yep.
Right? A whole lot of people that shot up places did it because they thought they were doing what God wanted them to do. So this idea that if we didn't have religion, we would somehow be less violent is an absolute lie. Absolute lie.
Civilizations were perfectly fine before Christianity tampered and tainted them.
Absolutely. And matter of fact, the Hammurabi Code predates the 10 Commandments, and a lot of that is the same. Can y'all just like not kill each other and stop being mean to each other and let's get it on? It was all about money and God was an excuse. No, because a whole lot of people, it may have been for some of the higher ups. You're right. Like the Crusades was all about money, but people went to fight because they thought they were doing something God wanted them to do. Mm-hmm. Now that may be
the church is getting paid off of it anyway.
Right. And that may be their cultish belief, but we're dealing with a cult right now in this country, thinking that they are chosen. And anytime somebody feels like they are chosen and you're not, and they can only prove their love to their God by doing something to you, that's a problem.
I should know, Tony.
There's a control. True. That was control. But it didn't stop the violence. It just
it made it worse, or it was
enabled it.
It was focused and directed.
Yeah.
It wasn't rampant violence. It was again violence in the name of.
Because you don't need God to make laws, right? We have laws here against murder, and it's not necessarily because it's a Christian nation. Muslim nations also have it, but so do Buddhist religions. So do I am blanking on the name of the South Indian religion. I can't think of it.
Buddhism?
No.
Hinduism. Hinduism. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
And you can take it all the way back to ancient times with Sumerians and ancient Africa. Everybody had a system of civilization, a society and community. And I'm gonna take out that word civilization. I want to say society and community. This idea that we all need to live in this space together. So let's put some rules together on how we're going to treat each other. Every ancient community and society had that well before we had any established religions. Now, some people worship the sun. Some people worship the moon. They worship river gods, et cetera, et cetera. You can think about the Orishas in Africa, et cetera. But all of it came down to, hey, sometimes the God's going to do something you don't like. I think there was much more human traits given to gods before. Yeah. Christianity and to some extent all Abrahamic religions tend to think that God is always benevolent and omnipresent, omnipowerful, whereas a lot of other pantheons, they have squabbles. And you look at Zeus and them was always up to something, right? You have these trickster gods in a lot of different pantheons of religion.
Mhm.
And people forget Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Norse mythology, African mythology. Those were religions.
Yes.
Those were practices. People prayed in temples to those gods. The same way we go to church and pray to Jesus Christ and the Holy Trinity. And maybe in a couple hundred years, this will also have been a mythology. We just don't think of it this way. I'm sure that the Norse gods, matter of fact, I love the show American Gods for that reason. And it talks about power being given to gods as people believed in them.
Believe in them, yes.
And like at the time of the filming of that show, Jesus Christ couldn't be touched because everybody was believing in him. And they were like, oh, here he comes. Oh my God. Right. Just hilarious.
I will say, back on the topic of, Pride Month, I look at all the uninterrupted celebrations now.
Yeah.
And not to say that every single one of them goes off without a hitch. I'm pretty sure one or two somewhere meets with some resistance from opposition or whatnot. But as opposed to, say, a decade ago, when you would have organized religious groups out there protesting Pride celebrations.
We're making a circle back to that, though.
Unfortunately, but
because I was in the Pride Parade in Atlanta because it's a good time, and I go with one of the companies that sponsors a float, so I just be up in there with the company. Shout out to LexisNexis Risk Solutions Group. We be having a ball at the Pride Parade, and they let me come hang out with them every year and walk the parade. But there's always a group in a specific corner where we have to turn down that street, and they stand there with their bullhorns yelling at everyone for 2.5, 3 hours. They just stand there and yell with their bullhorns and their speakers about it's an abomination and save your soul and all this other kind of stuff. Matter of fact, I heard this dude say, if I could force it on you, I would. And folks were like, yo, isn't that kind of rapey, dude?
Yes, it is. That is exactly what that is.
Why are you trying to, even the fact that they always talk about, they're trying to ram the gay agenda down our throat. But
no,
gay people are actually not out here trying to ram anything down a non-consenting throat. Right. But Christianity and Judaism and Islam and there are several other religions that I'm sure out there, and I don't want to try to name them all because I'm going to miss something. But a lot of organized religions still have a problem with homosexuality. Matter of fact, I said I wasn't going to talk about him because he don't want this kind of fame. So I'm not going to mention his name. But I follow this guy on Threads, and he is a Korean language teacher. Right. And he talked about there being a pride parade in his neighborhood. Right. And he went out to see it with a friend of his. And, they have little vendors and everything. He was like, I never thought that I would see the day that there would be a pride parade in my city in South Korea. And when it was over, somebody gave him like a bracelet and a flag. And they walked back home and he had to give the flag to his friend because he's like, my mom can't see this. I can't go in the house with this. And he's like, I'm gonna just take this bracelet, I'll put it in my pocket so I can look at it from time to time and remember how much fun I had today. And that is not an old story for him.
No, that's recent.
It's recent. But at the same time, there's a pride parade in a country where homosexuality is still not receiving the rights and equality that it should. I think they just recently, maybe like a few weeks ago, recognized same-sex relationships in certain instances, usually around like healthcare and beneficiary areas and stuff like that. But still, you still can't have gay marriage there, not yet. So yeah, there's a lot. We are forward looking in some aspects, although the Supreme Court is trying to roll back gay marriage
along with other things.
And Clarence Thomas in there trying to roll back miscegenation and make interracial marriage illegal again. I'm like, bro, ain't you married to a whole white woman? But okay, whatever.
It's like he's trying to get rid of everything that got him to where he is.
Yes, because he used to talk about being a beneficiary of some of the equalizing programs that affirmative action brought about, but now he wants to get rid of all of that. Talk about pulling the ladder up behind you. When he dies, I'm gonna be looking down at him and smiling. For real. All of them. But back to the gay community. I had one other thing I wanted to say. Pride. That's where I was headed. I remember my thought. I'm so happy.
Awesome.
I saw a video and it had nothing to do with gay people or black people. It was about two specific, I'm going to use the term Middle Eastern, and I know that's not the best term, but it was two specific ethnicities. And the video, it was a guy I used to follow on Facebook years ago. And in the video, yes, I did see that on reverse and burp, but it wasn't a unanimous. It was like 6-3. It should have been 9-0. The fact that it's 6-3 means that the Republicans are keeping hope alive that they can name one more justice before Trump is out of office and have a supermajority on their so the only thing that really can be done at this point is to expand the court to 9 or even 13 to 13 justices. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we already have 9, so to 11 or 13, so we can try to equilibrate this a little bit. But anyway, back to Pride. This guy is, whatever the ethnicity is, we're going to call him ethnicity A, is talking to a guy who's ethnicity B, and they are initially kind of like the Montagues and the Capulets, like they just don't get along. Right. And they don't know why. It's a generations feud, right? But they're talking and they seem to be friendly. Guy B, his daughter comes through and she's maybe 8 years old. And she's like, Dad, what are you doing over there? And he's like, I'm talking to my friend. He's ethnicity A. And she's like, get away from him. Don't you know they're dirty? And the guy's like, I'm not dirty. What are you saying? You know, I'm proud to be my ethnicity. And she goes, what is that to be proud of? That's not something you should be proud of. And that stuck with me for the last 15 years, hearing this little 8-year-old girl say, you should not be proud of who you are. She was taught that, probably by the same father who now recognizes that maybe he shouldn't have taught her that, right? But to hear that come out of a kid, you shouldn't, what is that to be proud of? You shouldn't be proud of that. That's why pride is such an important movement in the gay community, because they've been told for centuries at this point, you are an abomination and you should not be proud of who you are. You should be ashamed of your life, ashamed of your desires, ashamed of how you feel in your own body. That is shameful. You know, Black people have been told that we are big-lipped and stupid and lazy and good for nothing and don't deserve any happiness. You should be ashamed of your existence. And so being proud of who you are is a revolutionary act in and of itself, which is why I so love going to Pride events and the Pride parade. Yes, I have a good time and they be bumping some great music, but to see like parents standing on the side of the road with free hug signs, because they know that even to this day, there's people that don't get hugs from their parents
anymore. Yep.
Right. Seeing people say things like, you are loved and you are safe here. And, you know, God bless you. Like there were a couple ministers, even though you had these crazy religious fanatics on one side, there were some ministers out there with their full Catholic collars on. I'm assuming that's a Catholic collar.
Yes.
Saying things like, God loves you. Don't let anybody tell you different. That is a major step. It's a small one minister or two out there, but still, that meant everybody that I saw in that Pride parade, like looked at that and got a little misty because of the way they've been made to feel from the church. Yep. Right. So repairs like that, I almost said reparations, repairs like that are absolutely necessary. But James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, was just as much a part of the movement and just as important as I Have a Dream speech, because it reached a whole set of people that Martin Luther King wasn't reaching. Right. And it was something that people could feel good about. I love myself. Saying that I love myself, again, is a revolutionary idea, because the society that is built for cisgender, heterosexual white men, straight white men, tells you that you're not supposed to love yourself because you don't deserve anything. And I want you to remember that you don't deserve anything. So for us to stand here and say, not only do I deserve everything, I love myself. You know, and so that's what, since we're a little bit over time, that's what I want to close out with. Black people, you are boldly and powerfully made, and you should love yourself. Queer people, you are the stardust of the galaxies, and you should love yourself. And don't let anybody tell you different. Be proud. All right, I'm done. I'm going to go take my medicine, take a nap, because clearly I can't keep a thought in my head. This has been the most chaotic I've had the most fun. This has been the most chaotic show that I've done in a while. Thank you.
In a while, yes. I was about to say. In a while.
Yeah. So we will see y'all next month. Next month is July. You know what? Next month, because it's July and the 4th of July falls in that month, the end of the month, we will be doing a roundup on Michael Harriot's book, Black AF History, the unwhitewashed retelling of the history of America. Y'all know how I love me some Michael Harriot. Yep. I have the book on my Kindle. I'm going to buy a hard copy so I can sit here.
I have my hard copy somewhere nearby.
Do you? Bring. I'm going to get that hard copy from you so we can flip and show people in the book. And it's going to be a whole Michael Harriot episode next month.
I will try to read some pieces between now and then.
Yes. All right. We'll see y'all next time.
Good night, everybody.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then, when they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves a republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if you put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course, versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course, cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.